Israel went from occupying the place to surrounding the place. And they've had it under a brutal blockade since 2007. And yes, you were right that
I don't agree the blockade was brutal by any means.
You don't think the blockade of Gaza was brutal?
I mean, how brutal do you think they did? And in the years after that, they made bad decision after bad decision. It was a very bad decision.
I just think this is a non-argument.
You don't
but
think?
Okay. No, I think it's a non-argument.
But you've never been.
Well, am I not allowed to talk about it now? Have you ever been to Nazi Germany? Are you allowed to have feelings about them?
You can't time travel, but you
Well,
can
right.
but you can travel.
Okay, but so what? So what's the point? Like,
No,
okay.
I find that
Lots of people have been there and agree with me, and lots of people have been there and agree with you.
Yeah, but
so
if
I don't
you're
know
going
what
to spend... No. There was not starvation in Gaza after 2005. No, there was no deficit of goods coming in. I've been plenty of times.
There was no deficit?
No, there are
no
plenty
goods were kept out.
There are plenty. How many? Have you been to the crossing points?
No.
A central moment in the debate, and a point that sparked waves online, was Douglas Murray's insistence that Dave Smith couldn't comment on Gaza because he'd never visited the region. Yet, in a revealing twist, Dave resurfaced past footage of Murray himself rejecting lived experience arguments as intellectually weak. The irony was striking. In this breakdown, Dave doesn't just defend himself, he turns the tables and exposes the contradiction in Murray's position. By doing so, Dave not only dismantles the credibility of that line of attack, but also reasserts the right of every informed citizen to question foreign policy decisions, especially those funded with their tax dollars. Israel's war on Gaza, an escalating humanitarian nightmare as the Israeli government continues its military campaign in Gaza, reports of indiscriminate bombing and collective punishment are growing more severe. Civilian infrastructure, hospitals, schools, mosques, and refugee camps have been targeted repeatedly, with over 30,000 Palestinians reported dead, the vast majority being non-combatants. Entire families have been wiped out, while UN relief agencies warn of famine and medical collapse. Dave Smith uses this platform to ask what many now dare to question. Is this defense, or is this destruction masked as self-preservation? Is the Gaza blockade, now years old, a strategic necessity, or a humanitarian disgrace? Debunking the expert card. Who gets to speak on global atrocities? Dave calls out a pervasive tactic used by Murray and others in mainstream media. The idea that unless you're an expert or have personally been to a war zone, you don't get to voice an opinion. But as Dave points out, most people shaping policy or covering these topics on CNN, Fox, and legacy media have never seen a single refugee camp. Does Chris Matthews have Middle East credentials? Has Bill Maher walked the ruins of Rafah? Yet their opinions are broadcast daily. The difference? They're not challenging the status quo. Dave makes a compelling case that expertise shouldn't be a weapon to silence opposition, but a foundation for meaningful public dialogue. Why every American has skin in the game. Perhaps the most overlooked point in foreign policy debates is this: U.S. citizens are paying for these wars. Whether you support or oppose Israeli policy, your taxpayer dollars, over $3.8 billion annually in direct military aid, are enabling it. Dave passionately argues that every American has a right, and indeed a responsibility, to weigh in. You don't need a PhD in Middle Eastern history to oppose your money being used to bomb civilians. In a democracy, public accountability starts with asking uncomfortable questions. A turning tide, public opinion shifting rapidly across demographics, support for Israel's current actions is waning. Dave highlights the seismic shift. Today, only older Republicans maintain majority sympathy for Israel. Younger Americans, progressives, independents, even some libertarians, are siding more with Palestinian civilians, or at least voicing concern over Israeli government actions. Meanwhile, the media continues to frame critics as fringe or uninformed, ignoring that millions are waking up to the brutality in Gaza. The tide is turning, and debates like this are pushing it forward. Debate exposed Israel's narrative cracks. Dave came to the debate armed with facts, history, and receipts. From the CIA's role in Ukraine and NATO expansion, to Paul Wolfowitz's post-9/11 regime change blueprints, Dave delivered powerful, research-based arguments that Douglas failed to meaningfully counter. Instead of engagement, Murray defaulted to talking points, hand-waving, and semantic nitpicking. At one point, Dave compares it to being in a UFC fight with someone who just keeps saying, "I'm the better fighter," without throwing a punch. The result? A revealing, lopsided exchange that left many viewers wondering if the expert had simply run out of arguments. Trump's post-debate endorsement of Murray raises eyebrows. In what many see as a coordinated countermove, Donald Trump took to Truth Social the very next day to promote Douglas Murray's new book, praising Israel's heroic response to Hamas and framing Murray's reporting as a bold truth-telling mission. For critics like Dave Smith, this endorsement speaks volumes, not just about Trump's political priorities, but also about the deep influence of pro-Israel donors and foreign policy lobbies in shaping Republican talking points. How can Trump claim to be America first while enabling military actions abroad that draw the U.S. closer to another Middle East conflict? Your voice matters. Join the discussion. What do you think about the direction of U.S. foreign policy? Is it time we question our allies more critically? Drop your thoughts in the comments, hit like if you support open debate, and subscribe for more fearless breakdowns of global politics, war narratives, and the media's role in shaping public opinion.